What you gonna do? Sucker me to death?
Hello and welcome back to Thoughts Per Episode Doctor Who Edition. Thank you for bearing with while there was no episode last week, but today we're getting back on the horse and we're talking about Dalek, one of Christopher Eccleston's most famous Doctor Who episodes. I feel like part of the joy of rewatching this series is picking up on a lot of these subtleties of like character definition within these previous episodes, but this one pulls all of that stuff to the front and center and makes it much more overt, so I'm slightly worried that we're going to be talking about stuff which is just glaringly obvious to everyone involved, but it's still going to be fun to talk about. So before we get too stuck into things, one thing I do really like about this episode is that in New Who we actually meet the Cybermen before we ever meet the Daleks. The Doctor lands near an exhibit of a Dalek's helmet.
What is it?
An old friend of mine. Well, enemy. The stuff of nightmares reduced to an exhibit. I'm getting old.
It's fun because the Cybermen, you know, if the Daleks are like the gold medal of Doctor Who enemies, and the Cybermen are definitely the silver, and it's fun. Like it's like setting the table of just like, this is the episode that explores the Doctor's past, and nowadays it feels less like the past because we've got so much New Who ahead of us which has brought back these enemies, and multiple times at that, so they just kind of feel like they've never really gone away in terms of overall Doctor Who canon. But at this point in the series, as like, you know, Doctor Who, the New Who series 1 premiering for the first time in like years and years and years, you know, it very much feels like, oh, remember this from the old days? The titular Dalek is, of course, not... I've never said titular out loud, sorry, that's so distracting. Is that how you say that word? It sounds silly. The Dalek is not the only antagonist in the episode. We also have a rich man, Henry Van Stat, your Elon Musk step-in, although this is kind of before Elon Musk was really, you know, in the limelight, so to speak.
So where's the English kid?
Sir, I bought 10 more artifacts at auction, Mr. Van Staten.
Bring him on, let me see him.
Sir, with respect, there's something more urgent. We arrested 2 intruders 53 floors down. We don't know how they got in.
I'll tell you how they got in through the window. In through the window, that was funny.
Well, the 10th Doctor certainly thought so. I wonder how he'd feel if he knew that he'd stolen this joke from Henry Van Stat. Okay, enough beating around the bush. The meat and potatoes of this episode is that this is a one where the New Who audience is introduced to a Dalek, and the old Who audience, the classic Who audience, whatever you want to call them, the Doctor Who audience, I guess, as we all are, but still, you know, they're reintroduced to the Dalek in this new context, and this is a context where this is the last surviving Dalek, very much a analogue of the Doctor. Is the Doctor like the Dalek? This is a theme which will be thrown around throughout the rest of the episode. But this scene is just absolutely rich with like fantastic dialogue and brilliant performance, and it's just wonderful.
Look, I'm sorry about this. Mr. Van Staten might think he's clever, but never mind him. I've come to help. I'm the Doctor. Impossible.
Doctor! Exterminate! Exterminate! Exterminate!
I love how the Doctor's initial reaction is one of bewilderment and then immediate sheer terror as he realizes he is locked in a room with a Dalek before, obviously, the Dalek fails to kill him.
It's not working. Fantastic! Oh, fantastic! Powerless! Look at you. The great space dustbin. How does it feel? Back! What for? What are you going to do to me?
Everything that makes the Doctor such a good person is stripped away. He is reduced to this hateful, spiteful, sadistic even character. Obviously, presenting the Dalek as this imprisoned, victimized alien is going to help the audience, especially an audience who has never seen a Dalek before, kind of, you know, see this even more than someone who's rewatching this or an old Who fan. Like, obviously we can see this and understand that the Doctor has every reason to hate this Dalek, but because the Dalek is in a position of powerlessness and, you know, it's just being tortured, it really emphasizes the idea that the Doctor is the bad person in the room at this moment.
Your race is dead. You all burn, all of you. 10 million ships on fire. The entire Dalek race wiped out in 1 second.
You lie!
I watched it happen. I made it happen!
You destroyed us!
I had no choice.
I love that when his fury finally goes cold and he's brought back to himself a little bit after hearing the horror in the Dalek's voice, a Dalek feeling horror at his actions. It's also great exposition, like we learn more about the Time War than we've learned so far as an audience, and we learn it in a space where it's extremely relevant. It's not just like, you know, some background part of an episode which feeds into the Doctor's character. It's what's happening right here and right now. Also, this must have been fascinating for watchers of old Doctor Who. Like, I wish I could have watched Doctor Who for the first time with this mindset of being like alien to this like time skip and not knowing like, wait a second, why is he the last Time Lord? Wait a second, why are there no Daleks? Like piecing all that together and seeing the new context of the universe in that way. That's so cool.
We are the same.
We're not the same, I'm not... No, wait. Maybe we are. You're right, yeah, okay. You've got a point. Because I know what to do. I know what should happen. I know what you deserve. Exterminate.
Being an old Who fan and seeing this darker side of a Doctor in this scene, how he is basically acting like a Dalek, happy enough to compare himself to a Dalek, is, you know, I can't imagine what that must have been like. There is a great scene in the end of a young adult series of novels called the Darren Shan Vampire Saga, where the antagonist basically does this absolutely, like, disgusting villainous act of murdering a child and then calls on the protagonist to match him because he's also holding a hostage, to match his evil, and the protagonist is sickened to find himself almost wanting to do that, but he finds that if he would do that, then he would have stooped to the antagonist's level and he would have validated the antagonist's own actions. And there's a lot of that in this scene. The Doctor calls the Dalek's bluff. He says, well, okay, if you're saying that we're the same, then I will show you just how similar we are. I am happy to commit murder in this particular instance because you're a Dalek and I hate you just like you hate me. I said at the beginning of this video that this stuff was all very overt and very obvious, but to be fair, I don't think I really appreciated just how dark this episode is for the Doctor until maybe this rewatch or the last one.
Are you in pain? My name's Rose Tyler. I've got a friend he can help. He's called the Doctor. What's your name?
Yes.
What?
I am in pain. They torture me. But still they fear me. Do you fear me?
Oh.
I find this scene very interesting because the Dalek sounds very self-pitying here, and later on in the episode, obviously, after Rose touches it, it kind of mutates and it starts to gain the ability to feel, and obviously that very much changes what the Dalek is, and that's a big part of the climax of that episode. But before Rose even touches this Dalek, instead of just blind hatred, it talks to Rose, and it asks for help. It talks about how it is in pain. So I think there is more to Dalek individuality than just pure unanimous hatred among all of them. And I kind of wish that this could be explored in a later episode. I'm thinking off the top of my head, I don't think it ever really is. Maybe in the Peter Capaldi episode Into the Dalek, but I don't really remember that episode very well because I've only seen it once or twice, so we'll get to that one day.
Doctor, it's all my fault.
I've sealed the compartment. It can't get out. That lock's got 1 billion combinations.
Dalek's a genius. It can calculate 1,000 billion combinations in 1 second flat.
I also wonder about this idea of a Dalek foot soldier being a genius. Like, it might be able to calculate 100 billion or whatever he said combinations in a second flat, but isn't that more just computational power? Like, is it really doing that with its own organic brain? Because if Daleks were that smart, then surely they would do a better job of conquering the world when there's hundreds and thousands of them, like in later episodes and probably earlier episodes. This episode does a fantastic job of setting up a lone Dalek as this terrifying threat, but I think, like, as is the case with so many stories, so many movies, so many shows, so much media, like, when it does this, it then fails to really extrapolate that into when there's multiple of those. It's why Alien is scarier than Aliens, right? Although, full disclosure, I've not seen those movies. I'm just parroting what I've heard other people say. If every single Dalek foot soldier really was as terrifying as this one Dalek here, then I don't think the Doctor would be able to beat them so often, but hey, that's just me.
We're losing power. It's draining the base. Oh my god. It's draining the entire power supplies of the whole of Utah.
It's downloading. Downloading what?
Sir, the entire west coast has gone down.
It's not just energy. That Dalek just absorbed the entire internet. It knows everything.
You know, I was really considering letting you all go, but I just saw what you get up to online. Yeah, well, we're burned. I also take slight issue at the idea that the Dalek hacked into, like, the satellites to learn about all the information that humans knew. It was like, wait, where are my people? Where are the Dalek race? And the Doctor's like, see, they are all dead. It's like, fuck off, humans wouldn't know that.
I'm gonna stop shooting at it!
But it's killing them!
They're dispensable, that Dalek is unique!
I don't want to scratch on its bodywork, do you hear me?
This is the guy who was happy to let someone drill a fucking thing with a power drill a half an hour ago. So, I mean, I get that this is just meant to be a moment of billionaire prioritizes value of item over human life, and that's all well and good, but also it doesn't really make sense in the narrative.
Stairs. It's more like it. Hasn't got legs, it's stuck.
It's coming! Get out!
Elevate!
Oh my god.
Rose going, my god, watching this Dalek levitate is a little over the top, I think, for the in-universe, like, revelation that the Dalek can float or fly, but it is absolutely on point for any old Who audience watching this, because as far as I'm aware, this is the first time a Dalek is able to overcome the difficulty of stairs. I remember my parents joking about how you could defeat a Dalek by just running upstairs when I was a kid. Actually, we might have played some games around that very thing.
If you're so impressive, then why not just reason with this Dalek? It must be willing to negotiate. There must be something it needs. Everything needs something.
What's the nearest town?
Salt Lake City.
Population?
1 million.
All dead. If the Dalek gets out, it'll murder every living creature. That's all it needs.
But why would it do that?
Because it honestly believes they should die. Human beings are different, and anything different is wrong. It's the ultimate in racial cleansing. And you, Van Statten, you've let it loose!
This was a very succinct explanation to new Who viewers as to why Daleks do what they do and why they're so scary, and I really enjoyed that. I just wanted to include that. The idea of an entire race of war machines that just, like, honestly believe that anything other than them should die is terrifying, and slightly inspired by our own history, huh? But don't worry, the Doctor knows just how to reason with such a creature.
All right, then. If you want orders, follow this one.
Algorithm.
Yourself.
The Daleks must survive!
The Daleks have failed! Why don't you finish the job and make the Daleks extinct? Rid the universe of your filth! Why don't you just die?
You would make a good Dalek.
Talk about winning a war of the words, jeez. Also, you may have noticed a tiny bit of censorship there. Yeah, sorry about that, but I'm fairly sure if I just included that quote as it is, especially with how it's been used in the past, I probably wouldn't be able to get this video out to all of you. YouTube would detect that little audio bite and just be like, we're not going to recommend this one. Again, though, we've got some more Dark Side Doctor. We've got some more War Doctor coming out to play. And there are several times in this episode as well where the Doctor just easily slips into giving orders to soldiers, tactically assessing the situation and even making impossible choices that would save greater numbers of people as opposed to, you know, saving Rose. In the previous episode, we saw the Doctor unwilling to save the human race from the Slovene because he could lose Rose. And then when faced with his ancient enemy, the Daleks, he immediately gets put back into that general mindset and is suddenly, I won't say happy to, but he is suddenly open to the idea of sacrificing Rose Tyler, or at least risking her life in order to save greater numbers of people.
We've got power to the bulkheads.
Dalek's right behind them.
We're nearly there. Give us 2 seconds.
Doctor, I can't sustain the power. The whole system is failing. Doctor, you've got to close the bulkheads.
I'm sorry.
By the way, something I only just noticed now in my edit of this video as I was putting that clip in, that little part of a soundtrack as he's making that decision, the second he makes that decision, you hear that, like, militaristic drum roll come in. Because he is making a, like, militaristic decision. God, Murray Gold is a fucking genius. I'm so glad we've got him back. And this, of course, ends in the apparent death of Rose Tyler. With a classic, like, the door's shut, she's stuck on the other side, she does a tearful farewell over the phone, and then you hear, exterminate, and there's, like, a laser fire. And then, later on, you find out that the Dalek just shot the door for shits and giggles to keep the audience in suspense.
I killed her.
I'm sorry.
I said I'd protect her. She was only here because of me, and you're sorry. I could have killed that Dalek in itself. But you stopped me.
It was the prize of my collection.
Your collection? Well, was it worth it? Worth all those men's deaths? Worth Rose?
But Rose is just fine and dandy, and she's in another interesting part of this episode.
And now what? What are you waiting for?
I feel your fear.
What do you expect?
Daleks do not fear, must not fear.
Earlier, the reason the Dalek respected Rose, even though she was a human being, was because she wasn't afraid of it, despite everyone else ever coming into contact with it being afraid of it. Rose was not, because she is more of a curious person, I guess. She has more faith in the unknown than the people of this underground bunker dedicated to studying alien artifacts. But now, the Dalek has had some of Rose's time traveler human DNA infused into it, or whatever sci-fi wibbly-wobbly stuff is happening, and it is gaining the ability to feel. And Rose takes I feel your fear as like an admonishment, but really what it means is like, no, I can feel your fear. What? This poor Dalek is going through it.
I'm begging you, don't kill him. You didn't kill me.
But why not? Why are you alive? My function is to kill. What am I? What am I?
You ever have one of those days where you don't really know who you are? I haven't watched much of Classic Who, by the way, so I don't know how much this aspect of the Daleks has been explored, like the Dalek as an alien creature, which things can happen to and make it change, but I love it. I feel like this probably hasn't been explored, and the Ninth Doctor just wanting to kill it outright flies in the face of this idea of curiosity and the ability to things to grow and change. So it's kind of a reason why it's a bad thing to just want to straight up kill a Dalek in terms of the Doctor's normal ideology. Because of that, he has so much previous with the Daleks, he has so much trauma regarding them that he does not see them as capable of being anything other than death machines. So this transformation which the Dalek is undergoing is completely bewildering to him, something he didn't think was even possible.
Rose, get out of the way now!
No, because I won't let you do this.
That thing killed hundreds of people.
It's not the one pointing the gun at me.
I've got to do this. I've got to end it. The Daleks destroyed my home, my people. I've got nothing left.
Look at it.
What's it doing?
And when this rage-filled war doctor is shown the possibility of a Dalek changing into something different, he's distraught because it would be so much simpler if he could just hate every Dalek, just murder every Dalek in cold blood and have it be a good thing.
But it can't.
It couldn't kill Van Statten. It couldn't kill me. It's changing. What about you, Doctor? What the hell are you changing into?
I couldn't. I wasn't. Oh, Rose. They're all dead.
Honestly, one of the most beautiful scenes in the entire show. The Doctor's entire worldview just got turned on its head, and all he can really do is try and explain why he was acting this way. Like, all my people are dead. Like, of course I'm gonna react this way. And of course, juxtaposed across the room from this warlike, murderous, hateful Doctor is this scared, alone, worried Dalek in need of love and care, and, you know, in this case, being helped to die, which is a bit, you know, upsetting. But we're given the explanation that biologically a Dalek can't really suffer these creative ideas, this individuality, this, you know, availability of emotions other than hatred. It, like, is physically torturous to it, I guess.
Are you frightened, Rose Tyler?
Yeah.
So am I. Midnight.
Isn't it curious how we often revisit old stories, rewatch old shows, reread old books, things that we already know the story to, but we keep coming back to them time and again? I think it's because we as individuals grow and change and see more of life and acquire new perspectives, and we're curious to go back and match that to the old stories that we grew up with. This is my 4th or 5th time watching this episode, and I actually teared up a little bit at the end of it, which I've never done before, but I think it's just because I took more away from this episode than I ever have before, in terms of hatred and fear and the Doctor as a character and this Dalek and its journey and Rose and her, you know, her innocence and her curiosity and her love and how that factors into this entire story, and just the way events played out. It was beautiful. And while I'm sure I appreciated it before, something about watching it now, at where I am in my life now, I just appreciated it more fully than I think I ever have before. Anyway, thank you for listening to this episode of Thoughts Per Episode Doctor Who Edition. Leave a like if you liked the video, subscribe for weekly episodes, and potentially some upcoming classic Doctor Who episodes. I used to do a series called Thoughts Per Episode Classic Doctor Who Edition, and as I mentioned in a channel update video recently, with the advent of those episodes hitting BBC iPlayer, the paywall to access them has now been freed up, and I'm able to watch them more at my own pace without having to worry about monthly payments coming out, so I'm more likely to do so. So that might be a thing. Anyway, cheers.
Little piece of home, better than nothing.
Is that the end of it? The time war?
I'm the only one left. I win. How about that?